Hi everyone. For about 8 months or so, I've been on a quest to talk to as many Facebook friends as willing to take the time. But we are all quite busy. I would like to posit some opinions slash thoughts. I shall be from time to time talking about issues in hopes that I may receive feedback, positive slash negative. My first subject is reparations for African Americans. I know the word reparations has a loaded kind of perspective and is politically radioactive, but I'm comfortable with that and doesn't really influence my opinions one way or the other. So let me say flat out, with no equivocation, that I am a supporter of reparations, recompense, whatever words you want to use. Our African American citizens have paid dearly for the progress this country has made, and I think it's time that we pay for that. Hi, I want to use Wikipedia as a source in this particular case, but there's certainly other sources one can use to establish my point. But the United States was the legal institution, or subscribed to the legal institution, for human chattel slash enslavement, primarily and almost exclusively for African Americans. In 1865, it was prohibited nationally by the 13th Amendment. Many white Southern Christians slash ministers of the faith attempted to justify their support for slavery as almost a paternalistic endeavor. I needn't talk about the Civil War. All of us have a pretty good grasp of the history and the carnage and all of the ramifications. To help make my arguments, I will cite 6 historic structures that were predominantly built by slaves. The White House. The construction of the White House in 1792 was built largely by enslaved African American laborers. The U.S. Capitol, the temple of democracy, was through the sacrifice of black men and black women who physically constructed it. The railroads, most all U.S. railroad networks were built by the labor of enslaved black people. Thomas Jefferson's estate in Monticello, magnificent structure, was built in part by slave labor, including George Washington's estate at Mount Vernon. Many of the oldest public universities were built at the hands of slave labor and some free slaves. Wall Street, I quote Peter Harper, who wrote, "The very name Wall Street is born of slavery. Enslaved African Americans were largely responsible for the construction of Washington, D.C." I could go on and on about the slaves that built this country. Unfortunately, it goes on deaf ears to many. I, for one, want to thank our African American citizens and especially their ancestors for helping make our country um, as strong and as free a society that it has become. Which is kind of ironic that our present freedoms come from chattel mentality and servitude slash slavery. It is time for recompense. Let us establish compensation for all the free work, labor, our African American citizens have endured by financially compensating them for their hard work. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my thoughts, and I would appreciate your opinions. Thank you so much. This is Apologia by Steve, and thank you again.